I just don't.
I'll be right with you, folks. Having some issues here. Let me get things set up. My apologies.
Good job.
Oh Lord, I've done so many things wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quit things were taking too long, and Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me, and now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate, cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam, and sitting on the cold aluminum throne while I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan, claiming they're kings but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycle lies, no originality, and here I am bringing up clarity while they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lies, they think they're so fly, but I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame, but I'm here to call it out. It's a damn shame, claiming they're the next big E in the game, but their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla, so similar, like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila. Kin to Queen Camilla and her folk tiller, and all kinds of furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller. The real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse, using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lying tooth, drunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no man, I'm not so blind. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start, with each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art, painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth in a world full of babble and giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict looking for a bump to keep up the habit, and the effect seems so damn automatic. This comes a personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing the bag by trying to ball it. See, I'm a redneck with no money in my damn wallet, so go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett.
Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed. Digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud. But what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech be, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me? Or is it because they can't beat me, bringing the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the patent things I've seen since I was a boy, the things that made me cry and brought me joy, the good and bad in my life I learned to employ, taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind, acting and performing in ways that others have defined, only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game, they try to seem to break out. I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you lost in the clouds. They feed us the script, gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the agents lurking in the dark corners all about. See I'm breaking free in my discernment, speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, together we'll rise and shine. From the matrix ray twist, what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out, trapped in that illusion and mostly seeing others pout. Feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could write this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stats. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day. All right. Greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you today with why you should not be filing 1099s. The 1099 explained. This is just my opinion. This is not legal advice, but we're going to go over some information that hopefully will make it a little bit more clearer for you. So let's take a look. Instructions for the forms 1099A and 1099C, 4 of 2025. So we have instructions for form acquisition or abandonment of secured property and 1099C, cancellation of debt. And it says in this section, section references are to the Internal Revenue Code unless otherwise noted. Okay. Section references are to the Internal Revenue Code unless otherwise noted. Instructions for forms 1099A and 1099C, main contents. It says file form 1099A, acquisition or abandonment of secured property for each borrower if you lend money in connection with your trade or business. Section references are to the Internal Revenue Code unless otherwise noted. Trade or business. Remember that, folks. And in full or partial satisfaction of the debt, you acquire an interest in property that is security for the debt. So you buy a house, you buy a car, and those things are placed as security or property pledged for the debt. And when you make the payments on that, you secure that interest. Okay? That interest is known as equity. So say you buy a house, it's $300,000, and you end up in foreclosure after paying $200,000 on it. Most people leave that $200,000 that they've paid in as their equity interest as property. It is property. Your interest is property. It's an intangible property. And so you've made payments of $200,000, and then you go through foreclosure. The bank takes it back, puts it back on the market. This time they're going to sell it for $400,000. But they're only owed $200,000 or $100,000 after you paid the $200,000 on a $300,000 debt. So now they've jumped it. That's inflation and higher interest and all that. So they jump it. And now they're selling it for $400,000. And if they get $400,000, which they don't, that would be fraud. But what they do is they sell it for the $400,000. They keep the $100,000 that is owed to them on the previous sale, on the previous purchase thing, on the previous contract, the previous debt. Now, when they file the 1099 as the lender to a borrower, they filed the 1099 for the acquisition of the property. Then they cancel the debt. You still have $200,000 in equity that you can go back and file a 1099, because in that exchange, you were both acting and performing similarly as borrowers and lenders. There's a difference in the exchange upon times and conditions, and that changes it to not of like kind. See, the bank doesn't have equity. They've got a contract and they've got possession and legal title, and that is not a real interest. That's a business interest. And the property is actually abandoned. So let's take a look at it. Or you have reason to know that the property has been abandoned. What property? You need not be in the business of lending money to be subject to this reporting requirement. Coordination with Form 1099-C. If in the same calendar year you cancel a debt of $600 or more in connection with a foreclosure or abandonment of secured property. Now they say secured property. That's the actual thing pledged. But the other property is the interest in that property pledged, the equity interest. That's the other property. It's not of like kind. It is not necessary to file both Form 1099-A and Form 1099-C, cancellation of debt, for the same debtor. You may file Form 1099-C only. You will meet your Form 1099-A filing requirement for the debtor by completing boxes 4, 5, and 7 on Form 1099-C. However, if you file both forms, 1099-A and 1099-C, do not complete boxes 4, 5, and 7 on Form 1099-C. If you file both forms, then you do not complete boxes 4, 5, and 7 on Form 1099-C. Okay, property. They're giving you a definition of property here. Means any real property, such as a personal residence, the physical thing, Any intangible property, the interests, the payments that you've already made and it's in record, but there's no actual physical material property other than the evidence. And tangible personal property, such as personal residence, the material things. Intellectual, intangible, tangible, material things. No reporting is required for tangible personal property such as a car, securing a loan to an individual and held for personal use. No reporting is required for tangible personal property. The reporting is required for intangible and business property. You are still required to report when the property is held for investment, business, or used in a trade or business. So the house that is not used as an investment and is not being used for trade or business, but is merely such as a personal residence, then there is no reporting requirement. If there is no reporting requirement, why are you reporting taxes and paying property taxes when there's no investment and no trade or business being conducted on your personal residence? Think. No reporting is required if the property securing the loan is located outside the United States. Remember, UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, where these UCC 9s or 1099s come from, states the debtor. 9-307, the debtor, location of the debtor, the United States. The debtor is located in Washington, D.C. Therefore, anything outside of Washington, D.C., and the borrower has furnished the lender a statement under penalties of perjury that the borrower is an exempt foreign person. Again, because it's personal residence and not for investment or trade or business. Okay? So now that we got that down, we're going to go to 26 U.S. Code 7701. Remember the reference refers to the IRS code. So here we have U.S. Code Title 26 as it relates to taxes. And it's a set of definitions. First, let's go to foreign. The term foreign, when applied to a corporation or a partnership, means a corporation or a partnership which is not domestic. Okay? So you're conducting business on the domestic soil which you were born, the Republic of Iowa, which is outside of the United States. However, there's a problem with that. Reference to trade or business in 1099A UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, says the term trade or business includes, which means in legal context, when you deal with statute interpretation principles, they must be of like kind. And when it says includes, it means it includes just what comes after and excludes all else. Includes the performance of the functions of a public office. Okay? This is the problem with that term personal residence, is that no person, when it comes to residence in the zone, that's a United States zone, meaning it's in the United States. Territorially, not domestically, because the United States is not domestic. See, the United States is the foreign entity. It's a business corporation. Okay? Remember the partnership or corporation? You have a partnership with the United States through the enumeration at birth, birth registration, and Social Security Administration, which establishes what's known as a minimum contact. We'll read that. First, we're going to take a look at 26 U.S. Code 1031. Exchange of real property held for productive use or investment. Productive use or investment. That's that trade or business. Okay? And it goes down and talks about non-recognition of gain or loss from exchanges solely in kind. In kind. Material object for material object. Interest for interest. Obligation for obligation. Liability for liability. Those are of equal kind. Those are of like kinds. So when you have a purchase agreement with the bank, you have a liability. Just like the bank has a liability. If you stick to your liability and equity and keep with clean hands and know what you're doing, you keep that same liability. You don't exchange it in exchange for the bank's liability. That's what's truly happening. So let's go down to H. Special rules for foreign real property. Real property, tangible or intangible, because you do have a real interest, and interest is known as an intangible property, and therefore it is, in fact, real property, located in the United States, and real property located outside the United States are not property of like kind. Very simple. So let's take a look at the minimum contacts. LIIWEX. Minimum contacts are a non-resident civil defendants. Civil, not criminal. Civil. Why? Because civil relates to all them applications, registrations, agreements, and contracts, and employment applications. All those things are minimum contacts, because you're giving out that birth date and the Social Security number along with that name. Okay, so you're connecting the name, the individual's name and Social Security number, which is identifying that record, and you're associating it with the other record, the individual's name and birth date, and connecting those two records. The requirement for enumeration at birth is not a state requirement. It is a United States requirement under 5 U.S. Code 301, minimum birth registration standards, wherein it's supposed to be registered in the United States. Minimum contacts are a non-resident civilian defendant's connection. Connection, it's not a contract. It's just a simple connection. hey, you happen to fill out an application, you filed it with the guy, you handed it to the guy over across the counter, and they filed it into a public record system with the forum state that are sufficient for the forum state to assert personal jurisdiction over the defendant. And again, the defendant is the individual identified in the documentation, which is always going to have a name and a number identifying a record. It is not going to identify you, and by you, similarly performing the same type of functions, i.e., doing paperwork on the other side of the counter, even if it's a UCC, you are placating and, in fact, putting down in that paperwork, in fact, evidence that is against you and says you're a liar. Resident, no person shall reside within the zone except federal, state, or municipal officers or agents whose resident presence is deemed necessary by the board. And you're putting down that you're a resident by using that simple address form. Similarly, like you've been taught, like everybody else. But the problem is that's not the correct address, and that's not the correct form you should be touching. You shouldn't be filling those forms out. Those are for trade or business, wherein the term trade or business includes the performance of the functions of a public office. So if you're not performing the functions of a public office, then I suggest you learn how to start doing things privately. Sitting down and putting it into your own handwriting or into your own words via text, and then printing it out and mailing it to the U.S. Postal Service with green cards, using proper address formats that keep you outside of that United States zone. So, 5-line address. Brother Keith. First line. Brother Keith. Second line. Care of Joyce. Third line. Street number with the address. No abbreviations, folks. Care of is not C.O. Joyce. It's care of. That way it is not misconstrued through a false acronym of commanding officer. Always be very concise. So first line is Brother Keith, second line care of Joyce, third line number and street for the address, along with any apartment or suite numbers. Again, do not abbreviate. Fourth line, city, state, zip. The zip put in little square brackets, and I only use the 5-digit zip in square brackets. Fifth line, United States of America. Now, if you guys write that down, if you've done your due diligence and you wrote that down so you could visually look at it, you will see that there's one element missing that cannot be misconstrued, because there is no legal representation in the forming of that address when you leave off the last names. There is no last name. Therefore, there is no legal name. Therefore, there is no assumed name. Assumed name. '39 U.S. Code 3003. This is the U.S. Postal Service now. Mail bearing a fictitious name or address. See, that name you've been using all your life is not your given name. Your given name, in my case, would be Keith. Nothing more. When you conflate it with the family name and write it down as a first and last name, what you've done is you've converted certain data elements and flipped the script. You've now put it down as a legal name, which is a legal representation, and you are the legal authority stepping into those legal forums, which are performing functions of public office. Again, I'm telling you, in my opinion, and you can argue with me all you want, if you have a very clear, valid point, I'm willing to listen to it. But according to my knowledge and my research, I don't think you should be filling out those forms. And you do it voluntarily, giving them minimum contact prior all of your life, and then you start filling out official documents. And I'll remind you, let's see what Chat GPT says. Just as a coincidence, what is known as Battle of the Forms? See what they come up with. Oh, look at there. The Battle of Forms refers to a situation in contract law where two businesses are negotiating the terms of a contract, usually through the exchange of documents. Usually through the exchange of documents, such as purchase orders and invoices, and each party includes its own standard terms and conditions, which often conflict with each other. Then why are you so readily agreeing to what they put down as their standard terms and conditions with no conflict? Common in commercial transactions, especially in sale of goods, key characteristics, especially in sale of goods. Each party tries to impose its own terms. Example, liability limitations, dispute resolution methods. Is it going to be filing a suit in court, or are we going to do private arbitration pursuant to contract law? Delivery terms. Are we going to use the Postal Service as the trustee to make sure that the property tax is paid and evidenced by a transfer stamp? The final agreement is unclear because each side assumes their terms govern the contract. Example, buyer sends a purchase order with their standard terms. Seller responds with an invoice or order confirmation, including their own terms. Goods are shipped and accepted. A dispute arises after the fact. Whose terms apply? This creates a conflict of terms, leading to uncertainty about what terms actually form part of the contract. The courts must decide whether a contract was formed, and if so, whose terms govern. Isn't that supposed to be done by the contracting parties before they move forward? This is equity coming with clean hands by knowing the contract terms and conditions and by whose standards they meet. Approaches in law, mirror image rule, traditional approach. A contract is only formed if the acceptance matches the offer exactly. So you cannot go to a car lot, take their purchase order, fill it out, line out a veto, overwrite your terms and conditions on it, and give it back to them and expect that they have to follow those terms and conditions, because what you've done is you've now made them a counter offer. They have to have the ability to look it over and make sure that their liabilities and such are not changed to the extent to be detrimental to them. Whereas that's what you would use to point out as your standards of contracts is seeing this would be detrimental to me. So I'm not going to abandon this intangible property known as interests. Any variation is considered a counteroffer. Problem: doesn't reflect how real world business operates. In a variation, a contract is only formed if the acceptance matches the offer exactly. Any variation is considered a counteroffer. The problem: it doesn't reflect how real world business operates. Because you're offering or accepting it as if though it's exact. You can't do that. Nothing's going to be exact. You have to expect problems. So you have to put what? Indemnifications in there, excluding certain types of problems, such as an act of God. Last shot rule, common law, especially in the UK and US, the party who sends the last set of terms before performance begins and the other party performs. Like I said earlier, they have the opportunity to accept before the performance. They have the opportunity to deny the acceptance for acknowledgement of a detriment somewhere or an inconsistency. So the party who sends the last set of terms before performance begins wins. Their terms apply. Often seen as unfair or arbitrary. That's why I say contracts for mediation are actually under law an arbitration matter and not a public matter. Arbitration is to contract, and contract has a privity. It is not meant for the public forum. UCC 2-207 provides a more nuanced approach, allows for a contract to be formed even if the acceptance includes different or additional terms. Whether those terms become part of the contract depends on if both parties are merchants. If you're forming a contract, you have to recognize yourself as a merchant because you are, in fact, in a public contract and not a private agreement. You see the problem with a public contract that has a privity element that's not meant to be drawn into the public? If the new terms materially alter the contract, materially alter, in other words, you go to the car lot, you want a $150,000 Tahoe built to the hilt. You see the Tahoe on the lot, you take the purchase order, and you change it up, and you add a few more elements to that Tahoe, it's materially altered. Now they have to send it back to a shop or back to the manufacturer to have additional things done to it. You materially altered the product. Same thing like with a wedding dress. You buy a wedding dress and you take it back to a wedding shop on a consignment. You want a stated price for it. That consignment shop sells it to somebody that wants it material altered. The consignment shop can have it materially altered so it can sell it, because without it being materially altered, it might stay on the shelf and not get a consignment. So they take advantage of that outside contract to materially alter the product But the original contract on the consignment is still good because they're not selling it in concern with that original contract. They're selling it to somebody else. So they can undertake the terms of the offer and materially alter the offer to sell it to the one that wants it materially altered. They can then get that extra charge. Doing that to a car lot and not expecting them to be able to get that extra charge, they're not going to accept that. So you really have to learn how to understand these contracts, how they work, and how to employ them for your benefit in equal consideration so you're not being a detriment to the other party. That's where the true battle is, okay, is in the comprehension before it gets to a battle in the courts. If the offer expressly limits acceptance to its own terms and whether the terms were objected to. Like I said, a lady could go into a consignment shop, see a dress, and say she loves the dress, but she can't accept it. She has to object to that dress, but she's willing to accept it to its own terms, plus an additional contract that will materially alter the product. And now they act in a merchant capacity to be able to do so. That's your right of contract. Even though you're not a merchant, you don't even have to be a lender to have some of those tax laws apply to you. You have to learn your powers in this stuff, and it's important. Words have meanings. The battle of forms highlights the importance of clear communication and understanding that sending or accepting standard terms without careful review can create legal risks. It also emphasizes the need for companies to negotiate and confirm terms explicitly, especially in B2B transactions. What are B2B transactions? Business to business. Business to business. So we have to think about this stuff, folks, and really get back to that concise English, get back to your education, start researching so you know, because this public education system indoctrinated you to not look at the forms. They indoctrinated you into just signing your legal name and putting your birth date and address and social security number that imply that you're performing the functions of public office as soon as you walk out of high school. So think about this stuff and get back to reality of your own due diligence. Quit depending upon everybody else to do things for you and learn how to do this shit yourself. I'm telling you, I don't think you should be filling out any of those paperwork. It's for trade or business, clearly expressed as the performance of the functions of trade of public office. So if you're going to do stuff, do it on the private side. And there are ways of doing things like that without having to do it through a dealership. Little mom and pop shops, that's why they have that privity element and say, well, you can't video in here. You can't do your First Amendment audit in here because that freaks our customers out. You can stand outside on the sidewalk and do it all you want, but you ain't coming in here to do it. You ain't got your freedom of press in here. Same with my house. This is my temple. This is a private dominion. See, you have all your privacy rights in public. You have your privacy rights in public. But the onus probandi is on you to maintain that privity. So if you don't want to be on camera, don't go walking up to the camera. And remember, just because somebody's got you on camera from a block away, that ain't nothing. You don't need to go walking all the way up to him to tell him he shouldn't be putting you on video. You're on video out in the public already. Big Brother's watching you. I suggest you learn how to look inwards and start watching yourself. That way, it don't matter. And Big Brother can watch you all fucking day long. Because if you ain't doing anything wrong, then what are they watching? Except a good example. Think about this, folks, and know that I love you, and I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. I really don't. I want you guys to be successful, and that part is on you. So pray to your God, ask him for blessings, and may he do so, because I really don't care much other than that. I think we're all full-grown adults, and we have a sense of reason and logic that we should be able to start using. So you guys have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
Oh Lord, I've done so many things wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quitted things were taking too long, and Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me, and now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate, cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam, and sitting on the cold aluminum coal while I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan, claiming they're kings but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycle lines, no originality, and here I am bringing up clarity while they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lies, they think they're so fly, but I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame, but I'm here to call it out. It's a damn shame, claiming they're the next biggie in the game, but their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla, so similar like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila. Kin to Queen Camilla and her flotilla and all kinds of Furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller of the real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lion tooth, drunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no, man, I'm not so mine. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start, with each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art, painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth in a world full of babble ain't giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict looking for a bump to keep up the habit, and the effect seems so damn automatic. This cult of personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing the bag by trying to ball it. See, I'm a redneck with no money in my paying wallet, so go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett.
Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed. Digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud. But what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me? Or is it because they can't beat me? Bringing the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the patent things I've seen since I was a boy. The things that made me cry and brought me joy. The good and bad in my life I learned to employ. Taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind. Acting and performing in ways that others have defined, only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game, they try to seem to break out. I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you're lost in the cloud. They feed us the script, gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the ages lurking in the dark corners all about. See I'm breaking free and my discernment speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, together we'll rise and shine. From the matrix way twist what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out, trapped in that illusion and mostly seeing others pout. Feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could wipe this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stats. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day.